Welcome to Internet Quality Academy. The channel is for the quality control engineer, site engineer, and the civil engineer who are working in the construction field. In this channel, we are dealing with anything and everything which is required to get success in the construction industry. Today also, I'm going to discuss about a very important topic, that is epoxy flooring. What is epoxy flooring? What is the material required for the epoxy flooring? What is the IS code to follow? And what is the properties of the raw material? And where the epoxy flooring are used, and why epoxy flooring is used, what is the benefit, and how to lay down or how to prepare the base and everything. So stay tuned until the end to get the full information about the epoxy flooring. And if you are new in my channel, kindly subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get immediate notification. So without wasting time, let's jump into the subject, that is epoxy flooring. First, in epoxy flooring, we need to know what is epoxy flooring. So here it is. Epoxy flooring is a type of surface coating made from epoxy, a class of polymers created by the reaction of an epoxy resin with a polyamine hardener. So there are two basic things, that is a resin and the hardener. And when they are mixed in a suitable proportion or suitable ratio, they react with each other and make a hardened board. When these two components are mixed, a chemical reaction occurs, creating a rigid, durable plastic material that adheres exceptionally well to surface such as concrete. So these two material is mixing in a ratio, and when they mix, they become a rigid and durable material. So that is the epoxy flooring made by epoxy resin and the polyamine hardener. Let's see what is a raw material. We need to know what is the raw material we require for the epoxy flooring. Main ingredients, all we know, that's the resin, epoxy resin, and the hardener. But what our IS code is saying, this code is IS 46311986, reaffirmed in 2022. It is saying what is the requirement: epoxy resin, hardener, accelerator, plasticizer, liquid coulter, and aggregates. Let's see what my code is saying. In IS 4061, we need to say 4631, we need to see what is the material required. See, it is IS 46311986, reaffirmed in 2023. 22. Materials is required in clause 3. First is epoxy resin, conform to 9197, hardener, conform to 9197, accelerator, conform to 9197, plasticizer, that is also conformed to 9197, liquid coulter, that is also conformed to 9197, and aggregate, that also said conformed to 9197. So these are the raw material required for epoxy flooring, that is saying in code IS 4631, which is the code for epoxy flooring: epoxy resin, hardener, accelerator, plasticizer, liquid coulter, and aggregates. Now see what is this code is saying about the material. It is 9197. Here it is 9197. This material, an epoxy resin floor topping shall consist of material given in 3.1 to 3.5. What is saying epoxy resin? First, that we will discuss that the main raw material is epoxy resin. What is saying? This shall be liquid epoxy resin containing no hardener. It shall be of the following two grades. So first things, that is a epoxy, and there are two grades, and it is without the hardener. So what is this? Grade 1, resin containing no diluents, and these shall conform to the requirements of laid down in table 1, and grade 2, resin modified with a reactive diluent. These shall conform to the requirement of laid down in table 2. So there are two grade of resin available as per the IS code, that is a grade 1 and grade 2. And what is the requirement of grade 1, grade 2? See, what is saying class grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. So it is class grade 1 is epoxy content equivalent to 1000 grams, the weight per epoxy equivalent, viscosity, specific gravity, hydrolyzable chlorine content. So these are the 5 things code is specifying, that these things we need to check. What is saying? It is 5 to 5.8, and here it is 200 to 170, 3 viscosity 3 to 20, and specific gravity is 1.05 minimum and 1.2 maximum, and chloride content is 0.6. Whatever say grade 2 is there is also divided into 1 to 3, then 555 viscosity 0.5 to 0.9, 0.9 to 0.4, and 4 to 10. So and specific gravity 1.5, max same, and it is also 0.6. So depending upon the viscosity, there is a different, and then is the epoxy content also is different. So depending upon the epoxy content and the viscosity, there are two grade of epoxy resin is specified in the IS code, that is a grade 1 and grade 2. The next is hardeners. This shall be liquid type such as an aliphatic amine or an aliphatic or aromatic amine adduct. A polyamide or amido polyamine is specified in table 3. It shall react with epoxy resin at normal ambient temperature above 5 degrees centigrade. So hardener is the will react with the epoxy above the 5 degrees centigrade and it will form a rigid flooring. So other types of hardeners may be used where so agreed to between the supplier and the purchaser. So what is the say? It is table 3 is saying about the requirement of hardener. Here it is a table 3. So what is the viscosity, amine value and KOH, specific gravity, amino recommended and remarks. See, first is aliphatic amine, that is ABC. What is saying in these remarks? See, high rate of reactions with strong exothermic recurring sensitive to humidity. So according to the requirement or according to the environment, we need to choose what type of hardener we should use. Here it is beta B, slow rate of curing with long pot life and low exotherm. And it is a high rate of reaction and high exotherm. So see, these are the quality we need to think whenever we are doing any epoxy flooring, because we need to do the durable one और इसको क्या है ना हमको प्रोजेक्ट में करने का भी है. सो उसको करने के लिए व्हाट इज माय एनवायरमेंटल कंडीशन, व्हाट इज माय प्रोजेक्ट कंडीशन, दैट आल्सो वी नीड टू take in consideration, and according to these remarks we need to choose the what will be the hardener. And this aromatic hardener, it is permits curing a high atmospheric humidity and low temperature medium rate of curing, and B type is permits curing at high atmospheric humidity and low temperature, fast rate of curing. So whenever we need fast rate of curing, we can use the aromatic amine adduct and polyamide and amino resin compound. See, these are all the requirement is laid down according to your project requirement, according to the environmental condition, according to the requirement of curing, according to the other criteria. We need to finalize which type of hardener we should use and use the table 3 of IS 9197. So these are become the hardener. Then accelerator, these are liquid which may be added to accelerate the rate of curing of epoxy resin hardener system. So these are the accelerator. All we know the what is the use of accelerator. This is accelerating the accelerating the reaction or the chemical reaction process. So if you need it to be accelerated the process, you need to add the accelerator. Then plasticizer and non-reactive diluents. Plasticizer and non-reactive diluents may be incorporated not only in the resin but in the hardener also. Provide the total quantity of resin, this ingredient does not exceed 25% per 100 parts of weight of the resin. So plasticizer also can be used as per the requirement or as per the requirement of the project. So that also maximum percentage it is also mentioned. So if you need requirement of plasticizer or non-reactive diluents, so what you need to follow, that's 3.4 of 9197. Then liquid coulter, it may be incorporated either in the resin or the hardener or both if desired by the purchaser, provide the quantity added shall not exceed 1:1 by weight of the epoxy resin hardener mixture, and the pot life, curing time and other physical and chemical properties of mixture shall confirm the specified in the table 4. So if we want to use the liquid coulter, these are the requirement, and table 4 it has the given what is the specific requirement coulter. See, viscosity, specific gravity, residue, softening point, fractional distillations, phenol, naphthalene, what is the requirement and method of test, and these are the requirements. So whatever your project requirement, that you need to finalize, and accordingly you can use the coulter. Another is aggregate. Aggregate shall be free from any reactive or deleterious substance. Fine aggregate shall conform the grading zone 3 or zone 4 of IS 383197. So these are the aggregate also can be used according to the my requirement, and that should be conformed IS 3831970. That is all we know, that the aggregate code of for aggregate. So these are the things we need to check about the material. Now we have already find out that what is epoxy flooring, what is the raw material, what is the code you are using. Now we need to know what is the benefits of epoxy flooring. Why we are using we have the tiles one, we have the marble flooring, we have the granite flooring, whatever, different types of flooring. But then why the epoxy flooring? Yes, there is a benefit. First benefit is the durability. Why? Epoxy flooring is highly durable and can withstand heavy foot traffic and machinery. So whenever the heavy traffic is there, we need to protect our floors for the longevity and for the longer life. So in that case, only we can use the epoxy flooring. Then resistance. It is resistant to chemical stains, moistures, and abrasions, making it ideal for industrial environments. So whenever the industry is there, it is always acceptable that the chemical will be there, stain will be there, moisture will be there. So in the normal flooring, it will not resistance, but the epoxy is the resistance of all this. That is why epoxy resin is widely important and widely used in the industrial sector. Then aesthetic appeal. Epoxy floors can be customized with different color, pattern, and finishes to improve the appearance of the spaces. So it can be used as per the requirement, what color we need, what pattern we need, what shape we need. So according to that, we can modify and we can use and we can make it a customized way. So that is why the epoxy flooring also used for the aesthetic appeal. Then what is the safety purpose? The addition of slip resistance additives can improve safety in high traffic areas. So it is a safety resistance also. Then ease of maintenance. Epoxy floors are seamless and non-porous, making them easy to clean and maintain. And then longevity. So properly applied epoxy flooring can last many years without significant wear and tear. So these are the things we need to think that why epoxy flooring are we using or what is the benefit. That is a durability, resistance, appeal, safety, ease of maintenance, and the longevity. So these are the benefits we need to see. And next is different types of epoxy flooring. So first things, epoxy flooring is self-leveling epoxy flooring. What is that? These are used to create a smooth level surface and an ideal for commercial and industrial application. So what is the benefit? Benefit is that self-leveling is we don't need to level by ourselves. It will level automatically. So we just mix and lay it down, and it is with the self-leveling property, it will level the floor surface. Then epoxy mortar floors. These are extremely robust and used in heavy industrial environment. Then it is coming quartz filled epoxy floor. These incorporate colored quartz grains for aesthetics and slip resistance. Then anti-static epoxy floor used in environments where static sensitive electrons are handled. It is very much important so that there will be no static electricity is there. Then epoxy flake floors. These have colored flakes, chips added, 1 minute, chips added to the epoxy and for the decorative effect. So these are the thing. And then graveled epoxy floor. What is the graveled epoxy floor? Graveled epoxy floor is these are decorative and used for their attractive appearance in high traffic areas. So gravelled epoxy floor also used in the high traffic areas. Then terrazzo floor, a highly decorative and durable type used in commercial building. But what will be the thickness of these all floor? There's our IS code also given. What will be the minimum thickness requirement for all this floor, that we will check later. So these are the different types of epoxy floor we are using in the industry. Now, next is application of epoxy floor, where we are using industrial facilities, factories, warehouses, and production plants, commercial spaces, retail stores, showrooms, and the offices, healthcare settings, hospital, clinics, and laboratories. Then educational institutions, schools, and universities, residential, garage, basements, and kitchens, sports facilities, gyms, and sports arenas, food and beverage, processing plants, and the kitchens. So these are the areas we are using the epoxy floor. These are the required high demand of traffic, chemical attacks, moistures and everything. So normal flooring will not withstand. So that is why the epoxy flooring, and epoxy flooring we need to do as per the code, that is 46301 and 9197. Then recommended thickness, that we already discussed. What is the recommended thickness and what is the application process? Let's see what is 46316 says about the recommended thickness. 4631, we have already said from see. Here it is saying the following minimum thickness of epoxy resin floor toppings are recommended to obtain satisfactory performance. Trowel type 4 mm for normal use and 6.5 mm in areas of thermal shock and heavy traffic on horizontal surface. So what is your requirement? According to the requirement, we need to choose the thickness. Then floor type, that is 2 mm, terrazzo floor 10 mm. These are the requirement of the thickness that we need to mention. And what is the different types mentioned in the code? That is trowel type, floor type, terrazzo floor, and non-skid floor. That we already discussed different types of epoxy flooring, and this is the recommended thickness. Now we need to laid down the epoxy flooring. Here it is IS 4631-1986. It is described in detail. So first it is saying what is the equipment. That is a mixing. The resin and hardener constituents shall be blended just before use by suitable means. So which it means that we need to mix before using. We cannot mix and we cannot use it after some times. Power mixing with good shearing action may be adopted. So power mixing, no hand mixing. Hand mixing may be done with trowel taking special care, but we should use always the power mixing. That is always advisable for epoxy flooring. And then spreading. Conventional types of spreading equipment, including trowel notch spreaders and screed leveling devices, may be used. So these are the two things we need for the equipment. That is the mixing one and the spreading one. Now, what is the first is the preparation of the floor surface. To ensure proper adhesion of the epoxy resin mix, the substrate shall be clean, free from grease and oil, and dry and rough. So now we need to prepare the base. If the base is not as per the requirement, that will be there no addition or will be happening between the concrete or the base with the epoxy flooring, and we will not get the durability, we will not get the longevity or the longer lifespan. So it is very much important to rub the surfaces, it to clean from free grease, oil, dirt, and rough, so that the whenever we lay down the epoxy flooring, it can catch immediately and the proper bonding can happen. So here it is given how to do the concrete surface. Then and in even surface is very essential, to otherwise section called epoxy material would be consumed in filling the surface. So what is happened, if in a concrete uneven, then again the more epoxy will require to fill the gap. So mild steel or cast iron surface, what is saying, the surface shall be washed with a suitable solvent or detergent solution to remove any grease or oil. The surface shall be sandblasted or abated with emery cloth, abrasive disc, or wire brushes. So here it is saying concrete surface and it is saying mild steel or cast iron surface. These two areas are epoxy coating are used widely. And then the first what you saying, the two equipment mixing, that is a mixing equipment, spreading equipment, then preparation of floor, concrete surface, and then mild steel or cast iron surface. Now laying is the first thing we need to do the mixing. So what will happen, the constituents required for the particular epoxy resin topping shall be mixed in the correct proportion specified for the formulator. That means who is preparing this design and what is the requirement of the design and what is the ratio, that we need to know, and according to that ratio we need to mix the resin, hardener, accelerator, whatever as per this. In mixing the blend unless otherwise specified by the formulator, in order to addition the components of the equipment shall be resin, hardener, and aggregate. So whatever mentioning that we need to make. Aggregates for use shall be added to the blend in the mixture in a dry condition. Why? Supplies of aggregate should therefore be delivered in stored to maintain suitable dry condition. If the moisture is there, then again this moisture will be inside the flooring, though in or it will chemical reaction will not happen. And whenever this moisture will come up by evaporation, again the cracks will develop. The duration of mixing of the separate components of the epoxy resin blend shall be adequate to ensure thorough mixing, and the quantity of resin mixed at any time one time shall be such that the mix can be applied and spread within the known of pot of life. Now, what is a pot life, that we need to know, because it is saying that within the pot life we need to finish this. Uh, Sorry, where it is again? See, here it is saying within the pot life. So we need to know the what is called pot life. Let me see. Here it is pot life. In the pot life. See, here it is in 9197 given the pot life. The pot life of the mixture containing and the ingredients in the prescribed proportion shall be at least 45 minutes and 27 plus minus 2 degrees centigrade and 65 plus minus at the adhering to 9162. So pot life is the 45 minutes. So we need to mixing laying within the 45 minutes. So that we need to ensure whenever we are doing any epoxy flooring. So then it is coming application. Application of the epoxy resin topping shall be done according 9.21, 9.21. The blended epoxy resin mix shall be applied and uniformly sprayed over the prepared area to give the required thickness. It is recommended that the floor area be laid down with section that uniform thickness. So this and for some areas where a heavily filled troweling compound is to be applied, the prepared area shall be first covered with a tack coat and the unfilled resin hardener be mixed by brush and shall be allowed. So it is directly, and here it is heavy traffic required, one tack coat is required. So what is your requirement? That as per your requirement, whether tack coat is required or not, that you need to decide. Whether heavily filled traveling compound is used, it is advisable to apply a seal coat. So tack coat, seal coat according to your requirement. So what is the tools is required? As mild steel tools are liable to cause stain on tight color surface, it is recommended that stainless steel, chromium plated steel or rigid PVC tools should be used for laying of epoxy resin floor toppings. Now, this is very much important that we have mixed epoxy resin, we have laid down epoxy resin. Now, what is the setting time for the make epoxy resin, or where we can use the traffic? So, after application of the epoxy resin, topping the floor shall be allowed to set without disturbance for a minimum period of 24 hours. That means within 24 hours, there will be no traffic, and the floor can be brought to normal use after a minimum of period of 7 days at a temperature of 20 degrees centigrade and above. Through light traffic may be permitted after 24 hours of laying the floor topping. Below 26 hours, special care is required. So minimum period is 24 hours. Within that 24 hours, no traffic to be allowed to over the newly laid epoxy floor. And this expansion joint also you need to take care. The expansion joint of to coincide with the expansion joint in the base concrete should be provided in epoxy toppings. The expansion joints for the epoxy topping should be filled with a flexible putty that shows a appropriate water and chemical resistance. The formulator should be consulted for a suitable material. So this has to discuss with the designer that what type of suitable material is required. That is why the expansion joint property should not be harmed whenever using in epoxy flooring. So these are the things about the epoxy flooring. Let's summarize what we check one by one about the epoxy flooring. First, we see what is epoxy flooring, right? Then what is the raw material epoxy flooring and what is the IS code of epoxy flooring? Then what is the benefit of epoxy flooring? What is the different kinds of epoxy flooring, application of epoxy flooring, recommended thickness, and the application process. So these are all the things you need to take care whenever you are doing epoxy flooring, from starting to choosing the right kind of material, right kind of mixing, right kind of laying, right kind of protection from the traffic, and also the expansion joint. So these all the things you need to take care, and these two codes you need to follow whenever you are dealing with the epoxy flooring. I hope you find this information is useful, and if you find it useful, kindly subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get immediate notification. And I'm waiting for your valuable comment, so that from your valuable comment, everybody will be benefited. And if you want to know anything more about quality control and construction, please let me know. I will come with more content like this. And thank you once again for watching me.